So in my first episode of my 30-day fast, I mentioned how like 20 years ago, I had done that media fast for like 3 months. And then when I was done, I decided to enforce a worldwide ban within our home of TV that lasted a couple of years. I'm assuming, well, since we talked about this the other day, you do remember that,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. No, I do
okay.
remember it.
So
I think it was shortly around the time that I kind of got maybe some autonomy for myself and was allowed to watch things like The Simpsons. And and so for a very brief moment, I was able to, watch those things that were hidden from me for most of my life. And then yeah, quickly close behind the Iron Curtain again. Yeah.
well, yeah, at the time, I definitely, well, my experience was with when I came out of that fast, for me, it was almost as if, now this explanation I heard from somebody else, and it's such a good explanation that I'm going to use it, but just know it's not something I came up with. It's like if you're in this room that's filled up with smoke for so long, you start to realize you stop noticing the smoke. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And when I did that fast, it was like I had finally come out of that room that was filled with smoke. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe I had been sitting in this room with smoke for so long. And then you can like see clearly, and it just impacted me so much that I wanted everybody to be able to experience that. Now, sadly, at the time, you know, my tendencies were towards the totalitarian type of handling situations instead of the, hey, this was really awesome. You want to join me? It was more of a, like you said, the Iron Curtain. So my apologies for that.
No worries.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But what I think is funny is now, well, one, me maturing and understanding that the best way to handle things is not by forcing people. And what's funny to me though is we were talking like a month ago or so, and you were talking about how excited you were because you were going to start a media fast. I don't know if those are the words you used,
Yeah,
but
I
that
think I said
was
maybe a digital fast or something similar to that. Yeah.
okay. But that's generally what the thing was.
Yeah.
So I find it funny that obviously back then, different wavelengths and all that kind of stuff. But I'd like to hear one, what you thought about that back then, or if you, I mean, not like it's a big deal if you didn't adhere to my rules for the house,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming, I mean, if I was you, I would have been like going off to friends and watching TV. I would have been like, screw that, no TV stuff.
Yeah.
But more so, I want to hear why now you feel uh, it's a good thing to get away from that stuff and how you feel afterwards. Because
Yeah.
you were telling me how excited you were to do that. So
Yeah.
if you could please share that with me.
Yeah. Well, during this, well, I guess we'll start back then when that happened. I was in no state of mind to appreciate the value of taking time off from from that. I think I had recently bought your Super Nintendo as well, and that still fell under the the
Oh,
yeah.
I
So
have just like so in the I feel so bad about that. In the Mary Poppins movie where she like pulls out that tape measure and she's measuring the kids and it like tells her personality type. And they're like, do it on yourself. And she pulls it out. And so like Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every
yeah.
way. When you're telling me this, I feel like if you were to pull out that tape measure on me, it'd be like, dude, I'm practically an asshole in every way. Oh man, that is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm embarrassed. Okay, continue.
I made it through. I'm surprised. When you said it was 2 years, it's hard. It didn't, for some reason, I didn't think it was that long. That could have been because I was not abiding by it when you weren't around. So,
Yeah.
um, So yeah, the essence of it was lost on me. But looking back on it, I watched so much TV as a kid. I stayed up till like midnight watching Doctor Who, even like as a little kid. And those, you know, if I thinking back, if I was spending all that time doing something else, I would be really like a master at something instead of a master at TV watching. And so bringing up to date, uh, during this last one, well, what it kind of prompted it is that we had taken a month off of buying anything that came in plastic, and that, well, actually, it had been I'd stopped drinking 2 years ago, so that was the first big fast. Was like, all right, no more alcohol. So, and then once realizing that getting that kind of distraction out of my life paved the way for a much fuller existence, and so then we cut out plastic for a little while, and then the next thing to cut out was just the television and digital consumerism. And yeah, the desire was just to kind of think for myself again and to clear that, like you're saying, that smoke, that clutter, it's insidious and it gets in there, and it leads one to wonder if our thoughts are even our own or if it's just this programming, and to really not having that much trust in what the big broadcasting networks actually, what their intentions are for what they put out. I I don't believe it's with the desire to see us grow as individuals and reach our full potential. And it oftentimes seems to be more in the line of some constructing some weird social network of fear and prejudice, and masked in like a woke culture, or masked in just like hot button issues, and just wanted to clear all that out. And the days are fuller without it. And um more projects get done. There's a lot less self-loathing of sitting on the couch stuck in the repetition of wanting to do things but not having the motivation to do them, and instead just taking the easy right way out and watching another episode of such and such. Yeah, so yeah, it's cool. During that time, I did think a lot back to the first media fast back then when I think I was 10 or 12. And just really knowing that there's no way I could have valued it then, and as who I was, like it's impossible to. But having had that experience, I think compounds the value I have for it now. So thank you, Judah.
Well, it's so weird. I've been thinking about this the past few days, and struggling with, like I said, that totalitarianism that kind of, I don't know, was my thought process back then, and that's not a good thing. And it's weird to kind of think of like parents in general. I mean, that's almost how you have to do it with kids in a certain extent. But I wasn't your parent. But it's like kids, you leave them on their own, and they're just going to want to eat junk food all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to kind of be like, look, I know this. You want to do that, and I know it tastes good, but you got to eat this, or
Yeah.
you're going to end up dying. So I'm not trying to excuse what I did. I'm just thinking in my head, I'm trying to, like, how do you balance this where something could be helpful for somebody, but they're not going to be interested in do it. I still can't find a reason where it's okay to just force somebody to, you know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I've thought about it a lot. There's times when I have no desire to have children, but had done the thought experiment that if I had children, just to completely never give them the exposure of television or the internet, just that way there's nothing to ever take away from them. But that doesn't seem to work. It's funny too, because you couldn't pay me to eat a tomato when I was a little kid. Like literally, you tried. And now, 20 years later, 30 years later, I grow like 20 different varieties of tomatoes, and I love to eat spinach every day. I remember throwing spinach up when I was a child, and only drinking soda pop, and yeah, I don't touch soda anymore. So it's weird. I don't know if we all find it in our own time, but yeah, there's no amount of money would make me eat a tomato. So
That's almost like a perfect segue kind of into what else I told you I wanted to talk about.
Mhm.
So a coworker of mine asked to know what my YouTube channel was, and then they went and they watched some of our Alaska trip videos. And they mentioned how they really liked our interaction together,
Yeah.
which was nice to hear.
Yeah.
And then they kind of, I'm putting my words into how I interpreted the situation. Felt like they kind of lamented that they didn't have that kind of relationship with their two brothers. And I had mentioned, well, it wasn't always like that.
No.
And when I made the joke about, practically an asshole all the time, I mean, I think that really sums it up. You talk about tomatoes. I mean, I can't, I can't not laugh about this because I find it so funny, but I'm like, what a dick thing to do to you. So I would make Reuben peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm so ashamed of myself. And he was Reuben. Reuben knew that I was a trickster, and so he would check his sandwiches to make sure I hadn't like put anything in his sandwiches. So I started like covering tomatoes up with peanut butter and the peanut butter and jelly so that he couldn't see them. I'm so ashamed, but I find it so funny.
Oh, you were good at it.
So,
You would leave it so I could get a few good clean bites of just peanut butter and jelly, but once I got to the middle, up there there it was. I thought I was safe. My defenses were down. I had opened it up and checked, no tomato, few good bites, loving life. My brother just made me a sandwich. It's all good. There's the middle. Nope, the tomato, son of a bitch.
it's so horrible. It's so horrible. It's so horrible. Okay, I really, I really am ashamed of myself. And gosh, it's hard to. Sorry. I want to touch on the seriousness of this, but it's making me laugh. Oh my gosh. Well, so yeah, so things weren't always great between us, and I had to come to a real broken place. Honestly, when everything really started come to where I had to examine myself was when my wife left me, and a lot of accusations are made, and you have to take those things serious, and you have to do self-reflection, and you have to look at it and be like, are these things true? Are the things not true? And I went to something called Celebrate Recovery, which is kind of like AA, but for all types of kind of self-medication type things. But they take you through the same steps. And really, you have to do that fearless self-inventory. And so I had to look at things, and I had to ask friends and family about these things that I was seeing about myself or being told about myself. And I had to figure out what was real and what wasn't. And sadly, there's a lot of reality in the controllingness that I presented. So I had to, humble myself to you and a lot of people and just ask for forgiveness. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, Judy, I'm so brave for doing this, because it doesn't, it takes just as much strength to be able to then forgive the person.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough in your instance that when I came to you and recognized my assholeness, that you forgave me. Now I still have regrets, and it was just a couple months ago I called you because I was bothered by some things that I remember from back when we were younger, and I still needed to bring that up to you and just be like, I'm remembering this stuff, and I just want to bring up the fact that I'm so sorry for the way that I acted. And once again, you extended your forgiveness and mercy to me. And so I'm grateful for that strongly, that we can now have the relationship that we do, and that it's fun then for us to be able to do like the Alaska thing together, and somebody say, I enjoy seeing the interaction and
Yeah.
the love that you guys have together. That's good to know that people can change. And so thank you for that. And I mean, that's pretty much, I just wanted to add this into my 30-day fast thing. I thought that your media fast would be nice to touch on. And because it was so long ago, I only have the memory of the memory.
Yeah.
And when you were talking to me about your fast, I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to do my 30-day water only fast and a media fast at the same time. And that just did not happen
No.
because when you need to distract yourself from your tongue telling you to like, give me my carbs,
Yeah.
I was running to the TV and when I didn't have work to keep me occupied and stuff. But it's good to hear that you agree with what I had experienced back then, that kind of the clearing of the head and the thinking on your own, which
Yeah.
that wasn't going to be the point of that whole fast thing. But media, you're like you said, media doesn't want us to love each other.
No.
It wants it wants to divide us constantly. And again, this wasn't supposed to be about that. It was just, this fast was supposed to be, for me, losing weight, but also dominating the desires, to say, I'm not controlled by my stomach. I have control over my stomach. And
Yeah.
I think the media thing is the same deal.
Yeah.
It's being, I'm not going to let these things control me.
Yeah.
I will always be in control of it. Obviously, I am not in control of my media right now, binge watcher. But yeah, that's about it. You got anything else you wanted to add to this episode?
No, man. I think that was really great. I'm glad that this connection worked and that you thought of hitting me up for this. That it was nice to reflect on just we were kind of raised on fasting in a way. I remember just having like 2 or 3 day fasts during times of like worldwide turmoil that, I think that those fasts for me kind of consisted of just eating cereal for 3 days or something. If I remember, when I was really young, like kindergarten age. But it's a cool thing to give honor to in this culture of just indulgence and having anything and everything anytime we freaking want it. To be able to remember that more is not necessarily always more, and that sometimes more is less. and yeah, I appreciate just being able to reflect on that with you. And yeah, thanks, man. I love you, Judah. Thanks, man. This was fun. Bye.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, it is day 14. How are things going? Well, let me tell you, there was a little snag on day 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, I started feeling very nauseous and it was kind of freaking me out. So I ended up drinking some vegetable juice and some soda on those 4 days. And surprisingly, that water weight comes back real fast. Like, I think I mentioned that I started this fast at 207, and on the last update, I think I mentioned that I was like at 189. Well, when I started drinking that vegetable juice and those sodas, that shot right back up. Like within a day, I was back up to like 198, purely from the water. But the fast is about losing fat. And so that water weight is really just kind of a false security that you might feel when doing a fast for losing weight. So not really a big deal. But I got back on water only. And so we're going to keep forging ahead. And hopefully there won't be any more slip-ups where I go back to the vegetable juice or the soda to help settle my stomach, whatever was going on there. Another thing that I have become keenly aware of is that living your life based off of a reward system is definitely not the best way to do things. I've been working this job that I hate for 11 years, and I've been living my life in a way where it's like, gosh darn it, I just made it through 8 hours of this job that I hate. I deserve a treat. And so every day after work, I would get myself a treat. And I would, the reward of make it through these 8 hours and then you get your treat. Well, being on this fast, I can't give myself this treat. So that's been very difficult and eye-opening about how dangerous that is to be living your life on a reward system instead of just the reward being doing the thing in the first place. So, got to think about that a little bit more. That's all I got to say at this point, and I will see you in a week when I do another update. Hopefully, no slip ups.